Here's another video in this series about using Google Sheets for data-driven decisions. And in this one, we're going to use functions and some formulas to do some calculations and some counting. And so I have my data, I have it color-coded, it's looking great. And now what I want to do is start to count the number of correct responses and incorrect responses for each column. So here I'm in column E, and I'm going to go to cell number 14. I'm going to go ahead and click it to highlight it, and then I'm going to type in the word correct. So these are just some labels that I'm going to use for these next couple rows. I'm going to press enter and type in the word incorrect, press enter, and then I'm going to do percent by question and press enter. So I have these three labels, and now what I'm going to do is use some functions and formulas. So I'm going to go into F14, and in this one I want to count the number of correct responses here. So of course I can do it manually. I can sit there and just kind of toggle through and count. So I only have 10 rows. But if you have 100 rows, 200 rows, 300 rows of data, this function is going to help you out. So it's going to be equals count if. So it's going to count based on some criteria. So the way this works is that I'm going to do a left parenthesis, and then Google gives me some information. It wants a range and it wants some criteria. So I'm going to highlight my range here, and then I'm going to do comma space, and then I'm going to enter some criteria. And you got to remember my correct answer, the way I have this set up, is that first row of data is my answer key. So I'm going to click into F2. I'm going to do close parenthesis and press enter, and it counts 7 correct responses, which if we were to go ahead and manually count this, I can count, and I know I have 7 here. So now the trickier thing is to count the incorrect responses. So I'm going to use the same function again, equals count if. I'm going to do the left parenthesis, and then the two things, one's range and one's a criteria. So I'm going to select my range, which is great, and then comma space, just like we did in the previous one. And this one, the way we're going to type this in is going to be a little different. So you remember in conditional formatting, we use the less than or greater than sign to show does not equal to. So we're going to put that in parentheses. So parenthesis, less than, greater than, close parenthesis. So that's my first part. So you can see like things aren't happening the way I want to, but I want to make sure that it says it does not equal F2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the ampersand to combine not equal to F2. So just kind of repeat that. So I have my range, which is what we did in the previous example, comma space, and then I have the not equal to, so the less than, greater than symbol in quotes, and then an ampersand to combine it with F2. I'm going to close the parenthesis and press enter, and it counts 3 incorrect responses. So now what I need to do is to do the percent by question. So what I'm going to do is that's just it's just a ratio of the amount of correct versus the total amount of responses that I have here. So I'm going to do equals, and I'm going to just click into, this is F14, and then I'm going to do slash for divide by. And now what I'm going to do is I want to combine F14 and F15 together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in parentheses. So a little order operations here. I'm going to do F14 plus F15. I'm going to close the parenthesis, press enter, and it gives me a 0.7 as a decimal, but I want to see that as a percent. So when I click on the cell where the decimal is, if I go up in my toolbar and find the format as percent, it will give me 70%. It gives me a lot of decimals afterward. I don't need those for this instance. And so right next to percent, I can actually decrease the decimal places. So I can decrease it all the way down. You might add something in the tenths place for that. But this is very simple how we can get the correct, incorrect, and the percent by question. And you might go, man, that's a lot of work that I have to now repeat for all of this. So there is a little secret with Google Sheets. If I go ahead and highlight where I just did my two functions in my formula. What I can do, there's a little box right there. If I kind of click, hold, and then drag that across to all my other columns and let go, it now will automatically, you can see it up here, it will automatically figure out that I want the same function just with a new range and a new concept there. So I can go through and just kind of double check. So it says G, H, I, J, K, and so on and so forth. And it does all the percents and calculations for me. So if I do it properly once the first time, it will then populate all the way across for me. And it's great and amazing, and I love it. So now we have some percents here. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to finish it with a little bit of conditional formatting. So I'm going to use the same formatting that I used for my score. I'm going to use it across for all these percents. So I'm going to highlight my percentages. I'm going to go to Format, Conditional Formatting. And then I'm going to start with my red. So I have my range here, is nice. So I'm going to go to my format rules, and then I'm going to do, let's do the less than or equal to, and then in my value, I can't type in 50 because that's not going to work. I have to actually type in the decimal. So I type in 0.5 for 50%. I'm going to change that color code to red. And then what I'm going to do, so I have to use decimal. So if you don't know what the decimal is, you can change your percents back to decimals, all the good stuff. But 50% is 0.5. I'm going to press add another rule. And then I'm going to do less than or equal to 0.7. I'm going to light that up in my yellow color. And then I'm going to press add another rule. And then I'm going to do greater than 0.7. I'm going to light that up in, 0.7. I'm going to light that up in my green color. So I should have these three formats. And of course, if you need to, go and pause the video, check out what's on my screen, make sure it matches yours. But this is a simple video, how we use some functions to come up with correct and incorrect. We did the percent by question, had a little formatting. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to make a chart using this data.